measuring tape so that you can see how long.
We're just gonna wing it. Hey, I'm Dre, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are starting the Tempature blanket. Are you guys ready? I'm so excited. Please feel free to grab your whips, Bibles, and some coffee. And let's get into this video. How have you guys been today? I had an interesting day at work. I will say the least. It was very interesting. Day 1 of January, we're starting with kale. Kale is my 46 to 60. I haven't actually decided how I'm doing this. I have no planning going into this.
See how long.
We're just gonna wing it. I'm just diving in head first. I walk by faith, not by sight. Does that work in that scenario? I don't know. There's a snake. Dre, catch. Who is it?
Say Sawyer.
Come in.
Hey.
Whoa, what are you doing?
A balloon!
Oh, the balloon is flying.
Go get it. I'm making a video.
Moo cows and stuff.
Moo cows. Good job. Good morning. Sorry for the interruptions for the last clip, but here is today's video. This is how far we've come on the blanket. But I wanted to start talking about the topic this morning. I was really struggling at work this past week and the week that we're on, and just surrendering. I'm letting some comments made by staff and clients get to me when I know that I shouldn't be, and I'm letting my personal rapport with someone be affected by what's being said. Surrender it. Is your protection protecting you? Or is it hindering your ability to have your identity in Christ? Now, if this just hit your gut a little bit, please stay tuned. I want you to receive all that you can. Don't click out. Don't click out if you feel like this is something that you need to hear. I know it may be hard to hear, but it's going to benefit you so much if you just listen to what the Lord has to say. Are you protecting yourself? Or rather, protecting yourself because you still view yourself in the situation as the victim? Instead of dwelling in your resentments, it's time to ask God to open up your eyes to see your role in these situations. Once you have an understanding of your role and you forgive yourself for how you've been treating yourself personally because of the situation, the easier it will get to apologize and give up those resentments. Now, I'm not saying that this in particular situation was purely your fault and you're not seeing it, and that is not where I'm going with this. I'm just saying every action has a reaction. The actions of others, they may hurt you. This is not a perfect world, and we are not living in a perfect, bump-free, trial-free, struggle-free world. But if someone's actions hurt you, do you in return hurt them with the way that you react? How did you respond? And it was easy to dwell on the, well, they hurt me, so why should I care if I hurt them? Or treat others the way you want to be treated, and so they treated me poorly, so I'm going to treat them poorly. That is not what God commanded us at all. Like, at all. That is completely the opposite of what God has called us. Treat others the way you wanted to be treated, or rather, love thy neighbor as thyself, is the commandment that God has asked of us. We have to turn the other cheek. That's the Christian response. You know, when someone's actions hurt us, we just have to turn the other cheek. And that is one of the hardest things to do as a Christian, is to respond in that Christian way. For a lot of people, it's really hard. But God gives us strength for it. And, you know, turning the other cheek prevents victimization in a situation. You know, if you hurt me and I turn the other cheek and I walk away without responding verbally, like without responding in a verbal way that could in turn hurt the other person, like, you have nothing to dwell on. This person hurt me, I give it to the Lord, I'm done. That's turning the other cheek. That's the Christian response. This Tempature blanket is coming together pretty well. I am doing a half double crochet in the back stitch only, and I wanted to make this blanket with you guys while talking about a topic that I felt like God has been speaking to me about, or even if it's topics you guys are interested in, like answering questions and stuff. I got you. That is the complete intent for this video. I'm gonna kind of break throughout my topic, but I just want to keep it interesting. I have this pattern for skinny ties that I really want to do. I don't use patterns, like, hardly ever. If I'm making something new, it's usually from a tutorial, and then I just memorize that and continue making them. I also have this booth on March 3rd that I have nothing for yet. I've been slacking. I gotta figure out what to do. I wanted to open in January 2023, so my store is open. I had one order. We are almost done with this row, guys. We do have another day that spikes up into the blush color. It was like 68 the other day, so that's kind of cool that we get to see those little heat spikes on this blanket, which is the whole point of a Tempature blanket, obviously, but I don't know. The fact that I'm just doing one this year is exciting. So first we talked about kind of why you protect, or how do you protect? Do you use a boundary or do you put up a wall? Growing up, I did not have a family with boundaries. My mom was an alcoholic. Boundaries were just something that I was never installed in me at a young age. Matter of fact, I think maybe just in the past like 6 months did I actually learn how to set a healthy boundary, and that's really where I feel like this, like what God has been dealing with me about this protection has really rooted from. But the best way that I learned it is simply that a boundary is like a gate. When you set a healthy boundary, you are in control of it. Okay? This gate, you have control to open and close, to get through them, to let people in, or even to let people out. You have control over this gate. Just like an entry gate to a house. You have control to open and close that gate. While walls, they're a solid form of concealing. You can hide behind a wall and nobody will see you. You can't walk through them and you cannot get over them. See, when you lay a boundary, that boundary is ultimately for another person. When you put up a wall, that wall is for yourself. Putting up a wall is a selfish way to protect yourself. Because with a boundary, you're protecting yourself and you're protecting others. And with a wall, you're just protecting yourself and making it hard for others to carry a conversation with you, have any form of relationship, sit next to you. Like, putting up a wall gives off this vibe that you want nothing to do with anybody. One of the most powerful things that I feel like I've received from God dealing with this in my life is you cannot speak through a wall. You cannot talk to someone that has a wall up towards you. You can try, but you won't be successful. However, if you have a boundary, if you have a gate, you can speak over a fence. You can meet them where they're at without letting them in. And I think that was the biggest eye-opener for me. I put up walls in my life, but I thought it was for my protection. I started realizing that this wall that I had put up towards someone in my life was hindering my ability to communicate. Start tearing that wall down. It's gonna produce something way different than what you're thinking. See, protection attached to pride hinders you as you continue playing the victim. I've got some scriptures for us to read, so I'm getting out my Bible. We're going to start in Proverbs 4, verse 23. I love Proverbs. Proverbs is a good book in the Bible to read. Chapter 4, verse 23 says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." See, protection is asked of us to be in the world but not of it. There has to be protection, but the only way you'll be truly protected is if you're conscious about how you're protecting. If you put a wall up to everything worldly, how are you being in the world? How are you serving and living like Christ in a world that you have your walls up to for your protection? You're going to get uncomfortable. Living for God is not comfortable. There's peace, there's joy, but it's not comfortable. And one of the main reasons why it's not comfortable is because this world is so dark. And we're all just working together to light it up. This world is dark. There's a lot of dark things going on in this world, and that's why it's uncomfortable. But this protection, you lay boundaries, you stay firm in those boundaries, and things will prosper from that. Your light will get bigger, promise. Staying within Proverbs, but going to chapter 3, verse 5, it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding." You don't have to know why the situation happened. You don't have to know if it will happen again. You just have to trust in the Lord, and He will protect you and guide you with direction in all that you do. You don't have to depend on what you know, Psalms 121 verses 5 through 8. The Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. You need to allow Jesus to be that protective shield. To me, this verse really gives me an understanding that in order to determine whether a wall or a gate is appropriate, it needs to be addressed in prayer. Because a wall put up by Jesus is a good wall. A wall put up by your flesh is a bad wall. It's like the wall of Jericho. So seek God and take the hurt, take the offense, take any of whatever situation you're going through and just give it to God in prayer. Ask Him to lead you and guide you and to protect you so that you can continue being a light in that person's life without shutting them out. Ultimately, I think, the part where it says, the Lord will watch over your coming and going both now and forevermore. I want to correct myself. Previously, I stated, that we're in control of the gate opening and closing, but ultimately, the Lord should be, the Lord knows what's going to hurt you. The Lord knows what you need to avoid. So let Him lead you to know when to let somebody in and when to not. He's technically the controller of the gate. Do we have access to manually open it? Absolutely. Now, as previously mentioned, these negative walls are like the wall of Jericho. If you don't know the story, they put up this wall to keep the people in. God, what's going on? Tear it down. So, we're going to go to Hebrews 11, verse 3. By faith, the walls of Jericho fell after the army had marched around them for 7 days. Now, this chapter in Hebrews really just talks about faith and action. So, obviously, they took action and marched around this wall 7 times. They could have given up on the second. Shoot, I probably would have given up on the 4th. But they didn't. They pushed through with faith and with strength given to them by the Lord to march around this building for 7 days. Ultimately, the wall was torn down. You may have walls in your life, but the Lord can help you with tearing them down. Although it might not take a day, the walls of Jericho, it took 7. Tearing down the walls of Jericho was not easy. On day 1, they experienced mockery. On day 2, they were judged and stared at. It's not going to happen in a day, but it can happen. Just, surrender those walls that you have. First, pray for that God will open your eyes to help you realize the walls that you have in your life. And then pray that the Lord will help you tear them down. Matthew 5, verse 11. Oh, okay. This is a good one. So this is Jesus speaking. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice, this is verse 12. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Ultimately, I need to ask God often to help me tear down walls I've built. But I also need to ask Him to help me set boundaries, especially because with Him behind them, they don't turn into walls. Boundaries are a safe thing to set for yourself. And with the help of God, they're incrossable. I would recommend reading Boundaries by Henry Cloud. It is amazing.